Chairman, Vice Chairman, distinguished guests and speakers, and friends. National Securities Depository Limited has undertaken several first-of-its-kind projects which are socially useful, such as setting up India's first and largest security depository, a tax information network for Income Tax Department, a central record-keeping agency for new pension scheme of Government of India, National Registry database for NASCOM, and there are many more. In all these, information and communication technology has been a key backbone to deliver the service to the people at large in a transparent manner, and therefore the theme of this particular event is very close to our heart. What I want to do is to emphasize the 4 points which comes to my mind when we discuss ICT, and I will try to narrate them through the experience which I have gained in NSDL primarily. I see that ICT is no more just a cost cutter or an efficiency builder or enabler or facilitator. It is actually a disruptive game changer. It redefines the way business is conducted in time to come. It is a key differentiator between success and failure. Second point is we find that IT is an extremely good enabler for market reforms, good governance, and also bringing our risk at large in assistance. Third, it holds a tremendous potential for inclusive growth, which is the need of the hour. The country is growing at 7 to 8% in GDP on one side. There is still a 50% of the country's population still on a below poverty line, subsisting on $1 a day. And finally, as information communication technology becomes all-pervading, becomes an important element in every walk of life, it becomes imperative for those who build these solutions that these are indeed durable, reliable, safe and secure. But there are 4 points I intend to emphasize in my next 15-20 minutes of interest to you. I take you back to early 90s, in the securities market where I come from, which I probably understand the best. But the Bombay Stock Exchange was a premier stock exchange in the country with 100 years of history. It had a network of a very well-established brokers with deep pockets and a captive clientele. And it had the turnover which was larger than a turnover of all the exchanges in the country put together, be it from a metros or from the retail stock exchanges. And yet in 1993, a new exchange came in on the horizon, National Stock Exchange, led by essentially professionals with a little experience in a capital market. And this exchange, in very first year, had a larger turnover than the Bombay Stock Exchange. And over the few years, it has now established 4:1 lead in terms of the volumes of the securities traded on equity segment. Why this happened? This is a casebook, a classic case of a clash between a brick and mortar based a business model vis-a-vis information communication technology-driven business model. In those days, BSE practiced what was known as an open outcry-based trading system where the brokers gathered in the confines of a ring and conducted trade by shouting their codes and a very exotic sign language. And National Stock Exchange introduced electronic trading platform where you submit your order through the screen, which is accessible across the length and breadth of the country to the vast reset-based telecommunication network. But this telecommunication network provided reach. Very many people who had an inclination to trade, who had a means to trade, but could not participate in earlier model because of the location disadvantage, became the first user of our NSE system, and the NSE through the communication technology created a new market to tap. The second, there were also a determined upcountry traders who participated in trading in a Bombay Stock Exchange system through series of intermediaries, and each intermediary took his cut. So for them the trade became far more expensive compared to the counterpart in Bombay. But worse, despite of this, they did not have access to latest price discovery information that somebody will have standing outside the ring. The screen-based access across the country was completely equitable access. So not merely provided you what you can say a outreach, but an equitable outreach. Third, in a system where the brokers traded throughout the day in a manual manner and reported at the end of the day, there used to be various disputes. broker, he will say, I have sold 100 shares of a Reliance at so price, we sell it around 90 shares in different price. And these kind of disputes invariably got settled in favor of brokers who probably better connected, better asset fraternity. Now, electronic trading system, there was no scope for such mismatch. It's a very objective system. There was no preference given to anyone. It is an anonymous system, and a merit of trade was determined by the time price priority. And Cypher created what we can say a level playing field, which also weaned away some of the brokers to the system of NSE. And finally, the electronic system maintained complete audit trail. So if investor had a reason to believe that a broker is not being honest in a prices quoting a contract note, it was recourse to be able to find out from exchange what was the price prevalent at that time when particular transaction was done. Whereas in the BSE time, there was an invariable complaint from the people that if I am a seller, I invariably find that I get the least price quoted next day in a paper. If I am a buyer, I have to pay the highest price quoted in a paper. I know traders somewhere in between, but I don't know how to prove it. So it created transparency. So the equitable outreach, the level playing field and transfer basically won the people away from the Bombay Stock Exchange. In fact, it got a paradigm shift. Every exchange, including Bombay Stock Exchange, eventually abandoned the open outcry system and adopted a screen-based trading system. What NSE started was completed by NSDL subsequently. While trading became efficient with the screen-based system, the settlement still remained a very inefficient to people on outstation. There was still need a physical paper certificates for settlement in post, in courier. There was a threat of not being delivered in time, or they will get stolen and they will get auctioned because they could not complete their part of the bargain. Even the paper-based system had other things: fate, forgery, counterfeit, the substitution, mutilation, so on and so forth. But the worst was there was no equitable platform between buyer and seller. Seller received check, banked it. It was in money value next year. Buyer received physical paper certificate. He had to send it to the company for title transfer, which took few weeks or few months, during which the price went up. He could not encash this particular benefit and get the profit. If there was a dividend or a bonus declared, he also lost out on that. He was extremely unlucky. The company return shares in that signature is not matching on the form signed by the seller. He has to go back and chase his broker. His broker in turn chases the selling broker chases the seller. It was a very unjust system. NSDL introduced an ability to hold your securities in an electronic book entry form. The way you hold your money in a bank or the passbook entry, you hold security as well. So this brought a parity in way both money and a security were settled in a system. This also introduced a great efficiency. The cost came down, and one of the byproduct was now you could actually buy and sell one share. So ICS system also made it possible to afford a small ticket transaction, which was not possible earlier. Earlier you had to actually sell your 1 or 2 or 5 shares with a odd lot to a broker at great discount, who will accumulate it, make a lot of 50 or 100, and sell it to market and make profit. So on the other side, the business which thrived on a pure inefficient system also actually came under a pressure. They had to renovate. They simply cannot make that kind of money earlier. It eventually came down drastically. NSL introduced straight-through processing platform. So now the contract note and the confirmation between the institutions and the brokers and the custodians could be exchanged electronically. And India, which was considered to be a very backward market for securities trading and settlement, actually leapfrogged the West. And on a T+1 basis, the finance ministry now gets a complete information of tax collection across the country, zone-wise, the break of corporate tax, individual tax. Let us look at how this ICT can also help reduce risk. One of the most ubiquitous, all of us know it, probably don't even take notice of it, is an SMS alert which you get when you swipe your card. When your account gets debited in a depository for the trade you've done. This essentially tells you that there's something happened to your account. If you were not the party in doing it, then you can then immediately arrest the further abuse. It's a very simple innovation, very cost-effective innovation, but it is really very, very effective. On the other extreme, there are real-time analytics today available for identifying the suspicious transactions in the financial segment, which is a requirement for financial intermediaries and banks to report to FIU under the Anti-Money Laundering Act. There are also databases today which gives a complete credit history of persons, so those who intend to dispense loan, they can verify the credit with the person, what is his loan payment record, so on and so forth, which is set up as civil for the banks. Now let us look at the angle of financial inclusion. The financial inclusion requires two important ingredients. One is the reach which ICT provides. The second is to be able to support a small ticket transaction, which again ICT provides. You will find generally in an ICT-based system there is an initial capital expenditure set up an infrastructure which is robust, which is scalable. But once you do that, once the volume starts coming in, the cost comes down, the price comes down. A classic example is your mobile telephone. In the late 90s, we were paying 16 rupees a minute for call, today we pay 50 paise per call. Depositories also, as the volume came in, started passing on the benefit cost reduction by successfully reducing prices. Some of the innovative way the ICT today put to use that banks have done has taken leadership there is through core banking and ATM. Today migrant laborer working in the city can open the account, deposit daily earning, and his folks in town can actually withdraw his money through ATM without having to pay any charges. You will recall they to otherwise pay 5% of their earned money to do the money transfer to government's postal department itself. Banks are also trying to induct in people through the bank correspondent to take the handheld devices to register people, authenticate people. One of the classic example of a very clever use of ICT for a rural social society is Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. Here the government of India pays the premium to provide a healthcare insurance to more than 2 crore below poverty line families. Each family is issued a smart card. A smart card contains the biometric information of every member of the family. These are migrant laborers who go from district to district. When they go to Emperor Hospital through the smart card can authenticate person desiring service and indeed authorized to receive the service. The smart card also contains complete history of what kind of a treatment the person already received, what kind of claims already made. And the hospital from its own system will update the data and directly upload to insurance companies for claiming the services they are charging. This is one of the very innovative use. RR holds a tremendous potential to provide a biometric authentication to be able to dispense the government subsidies in a transparent manner to needy section of society in time to come. This brings to the last point which I made earlier. You will find as we go along, ICT is going to be becoming all pervading. People are going to depend on it. Now, you need to make sure that you do not lose people's trust and faith. Imagine if tomorrow you are denied loan because the database in somebody's system says that your credit record is not correct. So it's very important for one to build a system which are indeed very reliable, which are well secure in terms of the data which you are compiling being used to only for purposes supposed to use, so you can assure full privacy. There's a robust mechanism to ensure systems don't fail. There's a built-in redundancy. There are very, very robust business continuity plan. And I'm sure there are very many IT companies, people over here who will appreciate it for that. With this, gentlemen, I end my presentation. Thank you.